My name is Ashley Hill, and I had to bring on my special guest. She's actually a good friend too, but she's an amazing professional, Mrs. Angela Hemans. So welcome.
Hello, hello. I want to thank you, Ashley, for having me here. And I'm happy to be on here to share my knowledge and hopefully answer a few questions for your community.
Yes, and so for you guys that are watching this, I just want to let you know I brought Angela on, and really I asked her to do me a huge favor to bring in her knowledge and expertise to you guys because right now is a pivotal time. I know that you're trying to figure out how to be an effective financial aid team and how to communicate and how to really leverage social media. And
Right.
so I like to bring in the professionals to do what they do. So that's why Angela Emens is here. So I got a few questions I took from you guys, and I wanted to ask her. And so I'm going to start with the first one, and that is, Angela, if you can kind of get into, we know that, the pandemic has changed everything. Um, and so how can financial aid staff, how can they really pivot their social media strategy in order to really be effective in the time that we're living in right now?
That's a really great question. At the same time, it can be super tricky at times. One of the things that I will tell whoever's doing your social media, whether it's you, whether it's staff, is three things. Show you care, make your content show that you're concerned, and have compassion. You never know what people are going through. You don't know what kind of ups and downs might be happening in the household. We are in such a time of uncertainty, and people just are going. We're literally going from week to week. I myself have a son that is a new freshman to college. And without telling the whole story, we went from moving in the dorms to this week we're moving out of the dorms. And it's not necessarily due to the school, but it's due to the fact that 90% of his classes are now virtual. The need that he once had, and then on top of that, all the other programs and stuff that they were having are now gone. So
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't need to be there. And so we're making that choice to move out. So one of the things that I have been doing as a parent myself is I've been going on social media to see if there's any updates. And I must say that right now, it don't seem like a lot of the schools are showing that compassion and a sense of concern for the needs of the parent. So when you're sharing content online, you want to sound like, hey, we understand and be authentic. I know we get tired of hearing that word authentic all the time, but
Yeah.
your content needs to come over as we understand. Please make sure you check emails. We're sending a lot of updates. Just show that you care about people's time. Don't just assume that they're sitting there not doing anything. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
you're busy too, but you want to come across in your social media that you have a real sense of care and a real sense of compassion for the people. So when you're thinking about what kind of content to put, just make sure at the top of everything, does it sound good? There's a thing on, if you have Grammarly, is it Grammarly that I have it on, or Grammarly? I believe it's Grammarly, where it'll tell you, how does your content sound? Does it sound enthusiastic? Does it sound positive? Is it neutral? Is it angry? How does your content sound? So when it says, if I want to portray a certain um, emotion, I'll look to it to see if it says, does it sound enthusiastic? Does it sound positive? You want to sound positive. You want to sound realistic. But more importantly, you also want to sound like you have compassion and you understand what's going on. So put that into as you're pivoting along your strategy. I'm trying to make sure that I remember everything.
Sure,
The
sure.
other thing you want to do is communicate. The lack of communication is the quickest way to have angry parents emailing you
Oh,
through
yeah.
content. If you ask them to join you on Facebook, whatever the platform is, then you want to communicate with them. You don't want to just send one tweet one day and it says, hey, we're going to be doing events this week. And then next week is a picture of the event. Like, communicate. Take the time to understand that people are on social media right now. I just did another live in which my co-host said people are spending up to 10 hours on social media right now. So they're there. It's a matter of where they are, but they are there and they want to hear what you have to say. I have a good friend. Her son is also a new freshman. And one of the things she does is go on their Instagram and she actually wants to watch their lives. So when they did the walkthrough earlier back in April and May, I didn't get to go to I missed out on the actual attend the campus.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved to see an Instagram live of them walking through the campus.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of got, pulled on hold. I would love to see some more communication as to what's going on, what new updates, what are you thinking? I know that nothing is set in stone, but tell me, communicate what's going on. Nothing is worse than being a parent that's in the dark. And I know you guys are in the dark because everything is kind of happening day by day, week by week, but communicate what you know when you know it through social media, get it approved, but communicate, be open to it. Don't just post once a week and think, yeah.
Now, Angela, I want to interject.
Yes.
I want to interject and ask you something because you just hit on what you're hitting on. And I hope you guys are listening and this is another reason why I wanted Angela to speak to you guys, because she's a parent. She's telling you firsthand experience and she's giving you her professional expertise as well. But Angela, and I'm asking this for them, and because they may be thinking this question: is it okay to share campus events that are not related to financial aid?
That's a bond. Do you share that with it? No, not necessarily. But you can share, say you can go outside into the courtyard and share some information, share a picture from outside the campus courtyard and saying, okay, here's the deadline. I know we're behind, but the deadline for A, B, and C is here. If you have not paid for this event, the deadline is here. You can still be informative without not necessarily sharing, kids in the background. But you can have a picture where you're social distancing inside. It's kind of hard because you want to know somebody's at the financial aid office. At the same time, we know a lot of people working from home. So if you're there, it'd be great to see a picture of you actually at work in the office saying, hey, I am here taking appointments by this time if you need to come in. That's something you can share. That's something you communicate. When it came to the financial aid office, all we got is make sure you pay, make sure you pay, make sure you pay. And it was a nuisance after a while when all you hear is make sure you paid. Mm-hmm. And then other pertinent information went to the sidelines. So as a financial aid officer, what do you share? Share other dates. Stay relevant. You can share. I'm sure you can share. Okay, school's getting ready to open. Have you paid your student activities? Or you can share simple things like, okay, student activities, the fees you're paying. Explain to us about these fees because it seems like there's more fees now than there ever was before. Explain what some of these fees are. Don't just say, oh, this is a student activity fee. Well, there's no activities going on. What is that money for?
That's true.
I don't remember how much we paid, but somebody told me they paid $1,000 in student activity fees. What are those fees for, considering we're in a pandemic and there are no fees? Mm-hmm. Tell us, explain to us, share, show us the math. If you're giving a COVID care package, say, okay, here in the list of your fees, here is this information. Give us what people are paying for. Tell us. Don't just slap it on there and say, hey, pay the fee. That's what it is. Tell us. You can do several pieces of content just saying, here's what this fee is made of and why we're charging it. Mm-hmm. We're better off. We still might argue, but we will still, as a parent, I still want to know, why are we paying for that? So I think there's a lot of information that you can share and communicate to other than saying, hey, tuition is due today. Mm-hmm. Or tuition is due in the next week. There's more to that than that. We want to know other stuff, You can share. Financial is books. Tell us what the average cost of a book is. Share that we can use funds for A, B, and C. What can we use our funds for? Why should we contact you? Communicate. Understand we have different needs as parents, and you can, as a financial aid officer, anything that works together for finances, you can share that online.
And I agree. And also I wanted to bring in, I'm gonna brag on Angela for a little bit. But Angela, one thing I would say that you do a really good job at, and you guys, and we're going to share, Angela, I'll have you share your handles and all that so they can follow you. Right. But one thing I would say you do a really good job at is putting the human back into social media.
Right.
Because I think that, and this is a business, and I know you guys watching, you financial aid people, yes, it's a business, but like you heard Angela say, in her own case, she was saying that she kept getting the messages about paying your bill, and that's the technical stuff, but you have to make sure that you put the human back into it,
Right.
especially in a time like now. So,
You have to get things approved, and I do understand that. But if there's three of you in the office, then we want to see a picture of all three of you.
yeah,
Unfortunately, people are not on campus, and if you're working from home, just say, "Hey, we are working from home, like you are working from home. We are each handling this. Keep up to date." I think we talked about it briefly, but keeping up to date. We
yeah,
want to know if you're not going to be in the office. Should we decide to show up at the school? When are you working in the office? Don't just say, I'm not going to be there. Like, I got a voicemail message, and it basically said, please don't come to school. We're not here. Or email us. And it was just kind of, but there was no other information as to when you might be there. Please give us information as to when you might have office hours. Keep us up to
that's
date
good.
on what's happening with you and the school. Not necessarily that you have a doctor's appointment, but if you're going to be at the office, say I'm taking appointments only at the office Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, or I will be in the office on Friday from 8 to 5. Just these are updates that you can share that will be helpful to parents, to the teachers, to the students, to anybody needing your help, just to move things along. So
I agree. So I kind of wanted to move into this next question, and is what social media platforms should financial aid, the staff, the team, what should they be focusing on right now?
I had my answer, and I will say this. What platforms are you on right now? What platform does your school have on their website right now? So if the school have Facebook, then you need to be active on Facebook. If they have Facebook and Twitter, you need to be active on Facebook and Twitter. I, for one, go to your website and I look to see what social media handles you have, and then I click on it.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what the school is pushing, then that's where you need to be as well. You can be on any platform. Any platform will provide people with the information that they need. They just need to know you're there. So for instance, if I go to, say, Twitter and I type in Howard University, only because Kamala Harris is there.
Mm-hmm.
If you type in Howard University, you will see Howard University financial aid, Howard University admissions, athletics, teachers. It'll pop up all of that. So I will naturally see, financial aid office, and click on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much with Instagram. Facebook is a little bit similar, in which if you somebody types in a name, it'll also give you all of the choices listed below, and you can go from there. So if the main account is on Facebook, then you should have a Facebook account. If the main account is pushing Twitter, you should have a Twitter account. And then you go out from there. So that's where I would start. Wherever the school is at, you need to, the main school, whatever they share online, wherever they're sharing, that's where you need to start. And then you branch out. Now, when I say branch out, then you go to the top 4: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But my son is not on social media. We're trying to change that. He just doesn't care for it. And he's a techie on top of that, but he doesn't care for it. He would rather text. He would rather, on occasion, get on the phone. Mm-hmm. My friend's son, who's also a freshman, he stays on Snapchat. Mm. So if you have the time, now Snapchat you cannot schedule. You have to go pretty much kind of live unless you have it on your camera already. You can do Snapchat if that's what your company is allowing, if you're willing to do the learning curve, or you can stay on the top 4 and focus on that. But focus on the ones that your school is attached to and is the most active, and then branch out from there.
And I would definitely, so I'm going to get your opinion on this. Mm-hmm. Or you could correct me if I'm wrong. I would say that a school, especially with what's going on right now, you need to be on at least a platform, right?
Definitely. Why? Oh my goodness. And you need to sprout that out. You need to go on the other platforms. And if you're only on Twitter, then you need to go on Facebook and say, hey guys, if you need financial aid help, I am on Twitter. Like, you need to have that known. It needs to be something in your emails. Hey, if you have a question, wherever you want to be or wherever you are, let them know, hey, I am answering questions. If you have questions, shoot me a Facebook message. Let's connect, whatever. Or maybe you're doing a Facebook Q&A. It doesn't matter. Just let them know wherever you are at and say that you're there. Now, do understand that different people are on different platforms. So when Facebook first started several years ago, everybody was on Facebook. Then people made the leap to Google Plus. Then people made the leap from Google Plus back to Twitter. And then people have made the leap from Twitter to Instagram. And then in between those, you got those that's trickled to Snapchat, TikTok, and whatever else you have. But I'm saying that people are usually on at least 2 platforms, but you never know where they're going to be. You never know what platforms they might go to for their news. So the more platforms you can be on is great. But if you can't, then start with the ones with the school. It always goes back to them. Because it makes no sense if you have, don't mean to interrupt, but if you're on Instagram and they don't share the Instagram link, people will find you. Don't get me wrong. People will find you on Instagram. But if they're not going, they may not go for financial aid information.
I just want to throw in too, what you're saying is so important about you have to understand that people on different platforms, because another thing is, and Angela, you're a case in point right now, your son is not on social media, but you're the mom, you're the parent, you're still engaged in his process, and you're on social media, not just for work, but for personal too. So, colleges, financial aid, you guys have to be aware that it might be mom and dad might be on there, could be grandma, grandpa, whoever's invested in that student's education. And it could still be the case even for graduate school. If mom and dad are helping pay for med school,
it's gonna be if you don't want your money to go to waste, sometimes you're like, yes, involved. So where do I spend my time? I must say that I have not been to LinkedIn one time to go look at content for his school. I have been on, I did go to Instagram because my friend's son's school is heavy on Instagram, and I went to Twitter to see if there was updates. So that's where I went to find content. Needless to say, there's not much there, but that's where I went to see pictures and do all that other stuff, was mainly Twitter and then Instagram. So that's what I did. And be flexible. It's okay as long as it's within your guidelines, because I'm sure if your organization does not have a social media policy, then grab that. That will probably be the first thing, because you don't want to post stuff that is against policy and then blame it on Angela and say, she told me to post this. I don't know what your social media guidelines or policies are. So you have to first get that. 2, you will never share personalized information. That's an email, that's a phone call that they need to do to you. But I'm sure there's stuff you can share within the means of, within the regulations with your school.
Absolutely. And so since we're talking about platforms, I want to transition to our next question Angela, what scenarios should financial aid staff consider using automation on, in terms of their social media to share information?
Okay. Automation is, let's start with that. Automation is a way to stay abreast on things that are continuous or they've already been scheduled out and they're non-negotiable. So for instance, I mentioned the deadlines of tuition. You know what the deadline is. You can schedule different content depending on your platform, 1 month in advance, 1 week in advance, every 2 days in advance, and have updates going out. Hey guys, don't forget that tuition is due August 31st. We are 3, and then the next scheduled content can be about us having, don't forget, we are 2 days away from the deadline of you scheduling for your tour. So there are things that you just know. These are the dates for this. You can go ahead and schedule that. There's no need to keep going back and saying, oh, let me put this in here. Go ahead and schedule those time periods. In coronavirus, it gets a little difficult because I understand things change, but even graduation commencement's virtual. We don't have the dates for physical, but we have virtual. So you schedule out content for that. You can also schedule out, what else can you schedule out that I would recommend at this time? Events that are done. Like you say, this is virtual, this is what it is, schedule it out.
What scenarios should financial aid the staff, when should they consider using automation when they're sharing information on social media?
Okay, so social media scheduling is to not be used as the crutch for not doing the work. And you want to make sure that when you are scheduling out content, is content that you know for a fact has a given deadline and chances of it changing is slim to none. So for instance, you already know what the deadline is for financial, to making sure that people pay their financial balances and making sure that they've made their payments. You know what that is. You can schedule out, okay, guys, 30 days from now, such and such is due. 12 days from now, 2 weeks from now. You want to keep going with that. You don't want to share, oh, today's the deadline and you haven't said anything since, January. That's not the way to do it. You want to use it to keep people up to date. So stuff like deadlines, anything automatically have a deadline, and you're saying, well, things are always changing in COVID. So, we're in a pandemic, things are always changing. So you would not want to share, okay, we're having this in-person event here, and keep sharing that out because you don't know if the dates are going to change. But if you know for a fact that you're going to have a virtual event, you can share that. Hands down, regardless of whether numbers go up, go down, you know that you're going to have this event and it's only going to be virtual. That's what's been set in stone. You can start setting out pieces of content that leads to that date. And
that's good.
And so you say for financial aid people, it could be, hey, don't forget to order your books, or here's the last date for you to pull on the money that you have within your financial aid offer packages. So maybe there's a deadline for that, or maybe there's just a deadline for you. Maybe that is a deadline that you have so that you can keep things going. You'll want to share that. And it needs to correlate with what's going on campus. Say you also have parking passes. I don't know if they deal with that at the schools too. If your financial aid office deal with the parking pass, then you may have to say, hey, here's your last day to pay for this without extra added fees. Whatever you deal with when it comes to you dealing with finances, you can feel free to share it, but schedule it out if you know those dates will not change. If they won't change, schedule it. You don't need to worry about that 2 days ago. Darn it, I forgot. I forgot to say this, and now the deadline is 24 hours old. You don't want to be bothered with that. So go ahead and schedule that. So stuff that you know is not going to change, go ahead and schedule it.
That's good. That's good. And so I want to get into our last question and so we've been talking about automation. We've talked about content strategy, putting the human back into everything. So Angela, we're going to end with this is, what are the top 3, in your opinion, the top 3 best social media creation or scheduling tools that financial aid staff should use?
I have my little notes, so if you're wondering what you keep looking down at, I've got my notes.
Hey, we leave a note.
We got the notes. So if the top 3, and here's the tools. I don't tend to give tools that I don't use often in my own business, because it's hard for me to say, learn how to use this, and I can't tell you anything on how to use it. So I do that. The one that I use for my larger organizations that I'm currently working with is Hootsuite. It's cost effective. It's not it's really cost effective for larger organizations. A little pricey if it's one-on-one, but it allows you to expand at people. The thing with Hootsuite is educational organizations, higher education organizations get discounts. So you want to, if you're looking into that platform, make sure you go to the higher educational aspect of the platform, not just the business, because the business is more expensive than the educational section of that. So make sure that you, yes. And a lot of platforms in general have a version for higher education, educational, whether it's K through 12 and then college level as well. So just check that out. You can't hurt to ask if they have a platform or they have a financial platform for you. In some aspects, they will maybe, I think college you do have to pay. versus K through 12. But it's still cheaper than going the business route if you just have a regular business organization. So just take a look at it. It can't hurt. Hootsuite. 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 Next one for your images, if you decide to throw Canva. Canva is my favorite. Now, if you have your interns and stuff and they can throw together something on Adobe Shop, have at it. But if you're doing it, if you're a one-man team and you're like, I'm by myself, go to Canva, because you can create, say, 5 templates and then rotate the templates with the dates and times and just keep it simple. You want to keep it simple. So Canva, 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 and there's a free version there as well. And then if you need to upgrade, you can do that. The upgrade, I think the free version, you can do like your colors. You can do the college colors. You can add that all into it, master whatever your colors are. You can add that. That way you don't have to constantly go back and figure out what the colors are. You can ask your marketing department for all of that information and then add it to Canva. That way you don't have to keep going back and forth. So, and then lastly, if you are super not techie, I love Buffer. Buffer.com, Buffer. I actually am currently paying for that. I won't tell nobody, but I'm currently paying for that too, as a part of my business, because sometimes it's just simple. Mm-hmm. It is just simple. So if you have an article on your website that's talking about finances and you want to share that, that's another thing you can share and schedule out. If you've got blog posts that deal with financial aid and all this other stuff, and you've got it on the website, you can schedule that out, say once a month. Have it go out once a month. That way, it's automatically scheduled. There's nothing, you don't have to go back and ponder, did you do it? So do that. But Buffer, there's got some really simple cut and paste tools and stuff like that you can use. It is a little bit cheaper than Hootsuite. It's a little bit easier to use. They have some more limitations. So if you pay, it may not be on the, if you pay, don't quote me wrong. You have more features, but not as many features as Hootsuite. At the same time, you might be able to get Hootsuite at a discount, because I don't know if Buffer have an education version of that. So it is something for you to do. So those are my top 3. So Hootsuite and Buffer are your scheduling tools. Canva is your design tool if you are a one-man team. So those are my top 3. I'm in there. I'm in those tools daily, and I'm a pro user on all of them. So.
And you know what? You just made me think about something. I have to ask you, and I know I didn't tell you, but you're going to tell us your opinion, and I want to hear it anyway.
Right.
But before we get into what we're going to share with you guys, we've got a wonderful opportunity for you guys. So before I jump into that, Angela, I have to ask this. You're a mother. Your son is in college now. You're an African-American mother. Your son is African-American. You know where I'm going with this. And, we can't, and I say we as in collectively, especially in this country, we can't ignore the racial tension. It's stewed over, of course, with the George Floyd situation. And then there's been little pop-ups, we in Atlanta, of course, the whole Rashard Brooks. And it's been constantly bubbling up. Right. And so as a financial aid team who may not be as diverse with their staff, how can I guess I'm going to do a 2-part. Should they address this, that their school is diverse? And if you think they should, what's a good way to go about it? How do you communicate that as a school you care about your students that are African Americans and that may be dealing with the aftermath of what's going on?
Great question. Here we go. You didn't ask that to me earlier, but no, I know that's a great question. Okay, so in the regular marketing world, one of the things that I advise is to make sure that you have a diverse team. It's hard to understand what can be offensive if everybody's an echo chamber. As a parent, as an African-American mother to a son, as a son, especially. I want to know some of the popular things that are happening right now. Let me tell you what I did when I was looking up schools. I looked at the ratio, Black, white, in Asian. I looked at those ratios. Those ratios meant a lot to me. So if you're at a school that is predominantly Caucasian or Asian or something of that nature, you need to let people know that there is a location that they can reach out to you, that you are an equal opportunity college. You also need to let them know that there is a place for people to go should they need help. So if you have a multicultural center, you need to share the picture of the multicultural center. Maybe talk about some of the scholarships that are at the multicultural, and then do a diverse. Don't just say here's black African American scholarships only, and then you go through, February come back around, everybody do the Black History Month. Please don't do that.
Yes.
Share stuff, but make sure it's a diverse of sharing of content. If your school is predominantly other, make sure that you have pictures of staff. I mean, it's simple things you can do when you're taking your pictures. How do you continue to address it is that you show that you understand without being overbearing, because you don't want to insult the other communities that are out there. At the same time, you want to let people know that there is a place for you and that we will help you if you're in need. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same for all parents, is that you want to know that the school is not going to just toss my son or my daughter aside. They want to know. But in this case, where I want to say stay out of politics. You're a school. We don't go to the school for the politics. As a parent, I'm not looking for politics. I want to know my son is safe. Mm-hmm. In saying that, and so sometimes as a social media, as a parent, they collide. Share, I know this is finance, but share that part of your activities fee go to on-campus police. Mm-hmm. Let them know these are, here are your fees. You pay for police. They're there to help you here. We're paying for the app that helps your child. Let them know, and it has nothing to do with color, but people want to know they're safe. People want to know there's a place for them to go. So if they're, like I said, if there's a multicultural center, say that there's a place there. Have an event or virtual event and make sure there's people of color somewhere around there. I'm not telling you to go hire. It is what it is, but let them know that there's a safe place for them if they choose your school. Because if they have their eye on your school, they're going to come. But they also want to know they're not going to be attacked. They also want to know that if their hair isn't an afro, they're not going to be attacked. If they go and participate in Black Lives Matter or whatever, events are taking place, whether it be political, social activists, they want to know they're not going to be attacked or thrown out the school if that's what they choose to, which will make it more welcoming for them. As a financial aid office, you want to make sure that, hey, we give financial aid to everybody. Everybody's welcome to apply. And make sure you're saying that in different pieces, kind of over and over until people finally hear you. We are open and we want everybody. We're opening arms and stuff like that. So I think the main set is just to be honest, to let people know where there's help, make people feel safe, and let them know.
And I love amazing response. And I know we didn't talk about we were going to do that, but you did excellent. And I love that you didn't say this. You didn't say ignore it, because we can't. We're at a point in history where we can't just have the wool over and hope that it goes away.
Right. And in the case as a financial officer, and even in what I'm dealing with now with room and board, some of this could have been alleviated by just being honest financially. And now we're having to make sure you share where they can contact you. Like, what are the phone numbers? Put that on social media. Share that over and over again. Make it be your little banner at the bottom of any images, any posts. Where can we contact you? Here is the email. Here is the phone number for the financial aid. Make sure they understand where they can get a hold of it, because if somebody pays to go to your school of color and then they find out that, if I go and I march on Saturday and somebody takes a picture of me and I end up on social media, that you're going to expel me from school because I am part of this march. Let them know that, we understand people want to be social activists, political activists, everything within moderation, but respectful.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know there is not a place for hate. Now, we'll say if your place is on that borderline, you may want to express that, and I'm not exactly sure how you would express that, but if you can't have one organization sometimes without the other, as much as we want to deny that, we can't necessarily have one without the other. But I believe that coming from New York, born and raised in New York, we learn to accept in a not, we can respect, we can agree to not agree.
Mm-hmm.
I can respect you go your way, I go my way, we do our thing. So when it comes to making sure that people, when they're paying their money, they understand, here are your rules against this, here are your rules for that, and making sure that it's equal in a understanding, kind, and compassionate way.
I love it. That's sound advice, and so this is kind of a good segue now, and we really are going to end with this. But you guys that have been watching, Angela's been sharing, and this is just a tip of the iceberg.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
When in doubt, and I hate to say this because some people will be offended by it. When in doubt, ask the person that it has to do with. Get multiple. So if you are a Caucasian person wondering, does this sound racially insensitive? Find somebody. You got Ashley, reach out to me and say, you got Angela, there's somebody in your environment, in your community. You can reach out and say, how does this sound to you? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you don't know it sounds insensitive until you post it and people are like, now there's almost no way to not insult somebody. Somebody's going to always be insulted over anything. But you start by saying, hey, does this sound racially insensitive to you? And the same goes for our African-American counterparts that might be working in a predominantly other industry, white, Asian, whatever. You want to ask. It's okay to ask, does it sound insensitive? Am I being racially insensitive? And you may get the answer you want, you may not get the answer you want, and then ask them why, and then you share that information and then make your tweaks or your changes. So don't be afraid to ask if that is insensitive or not. But I think just ask, because sometimes you just need another sounding board other than what you're used to answer the questions you need.
I agree. And thank you for including that. That is really sound advice. And, as you guys are watching this, Angela's been sharing great stuff, and we've covered some areas that I know are really challenges for you guys right now. And you may be listening like, Angela, I don't have time. I'm swamped with calls from parents like you. I don't have time to schedule content. My interns, they're slams right now. We've got them on other projects. We've got to do all these things.
Right.
But I know from talking with you guys that you still have the ultimate goal, of course, is you want students to come to your school. Right. You want them to stay at your school. You want to retain them. And also
that you're engaged.
Yes, and you want them to graduate successfully too. I know that is obviously a huge goal for you guys, and that's what's been set, of course, at your university. So I want to open up the door now and offer this opportunity. I was talking with Angela, and we wanted to put together something that's going to really serve you guys and help you to do your job better and to communicate effectively, especially through social media. It is huge right now. And like Angela said, even with her own case, schools are just, they're not all meeting the mark right now. They're very technical in what they're saying, but the human piece is missing, and it comes across as, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, comes across as they just care about money.
Right.
And so we have to change that. We don't want, we have to change that. And so the solution that we're offering to you is we're going to offer you this package, and I'm going to let Angela share what's all included, but she has graciously opened up her office now and her team, and they're ready to assist you guys in doing this. And so, Angela, if you can kind of break down what all of it includes, let us know about the consults, and just kind of share what does it look like working with your team?
Right. So right now, you will be working with me. to do the direct one-on-one consultation. So for your community, what we decided was we're going to do an audit, a social media audit of at least 2 or 3 of your platforms to just get an idea of what your baseline is, what you're working with, what kind of content are you sharing, what kind of engagement are you sharing, as well as we're going to get together on our phone, a real Zoom call, and we'll go over what my findings were and ways that you can make those changes and adjustments to kind of create a more engaging, a more just a platform that you can, a financial aid platform that you can be proud of and that will grab somebody's attention. And at this time, not only can I come at it from a social media standpoint, marketing standpoint, but I'm also a parent going through it. So I know as a parent what I want to see, what I would like for it to have, as well as from a professional standpoint, I know some of your limitations, but there's that fine line that we will work together to find. In addition to that, you also get 2 more consultation times. And those 2 consultation times can either be used to help you with training. Say you need help with learning Hootsuite or Buffer or Canva. I'll work with you to go through that. Say you need to learn, say, Twitter a little bit better. We can use that time period. So you'll get, in addition to your audit, your review, and your consultation, you'll also get 2 more 45-minute sessions in which we will go over whatever it is you need to go to. Now, one thing I did say is that it will be based on a person-by-person or organizational need to make those adjustments. So if you find that you need your next 2 trainings, then that's what we're going to do. If you need the next 2 to be just, let's go over this, blah, 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 then we will work towards that. Then after that, you will get 30 days of email correspondence. So once we are done with our 3 consultation calls, then if you need to reach out to me and you say, Angela, I can be your soundboard. You say, how does this sound? We want to schedule this. What do you think? I will tell you, yes, no, let's change this here. Let's tweak this here. Let's, do whatever needs to be done. And you will have access to me for 30 days after we do our last your last phone call by email. So
that's great.
Yeah, so that's what I put together for Ashley and her community. And once again, feel free to reach out to Ashley to find out how you can sign up.
Exactly. And so to make this even greater, I'm going to throw in for your website piece, okay. I'm going to take a look from the content side. And me and Angela will tag team on that piece. But what I wanted you guys to take away from everything she's saying is that her team is going to come in. And of course, it's led by Angela. And we're going to give you peace of mind. You're not going to have to worry about this because you already got phone calls. You got emails to get to. Right. You got deadlines to get to. You got forms to make sure, you got to report your findings and do all the compliance things you have to do by law. And so we want to take this away from you. It's a challenge, but this is Angela's specialty, and I'm going to throw in the content piece with her as well. So I encourage you guys to reach out. I am going to have the link below here. And we're ready to go. I know that the semester just started, or it's getting ready to start in a matter of days for some of you guys, but I've talked to Angela. She's ready. Her team is on standby. And so if you are ready to finally have a solution to this that's going to work for you guys, then I highly encourage you guys to reach out to me today. I have the link below. And Angela, myself, and you guys will get on a call and we'll get started.
Because sometimes you just need that extra person to say, hey, what's really going on? And you just need somebody. I mean, I reach out to Ashley when I'm, looking for a little creativity and so sometimes you just need that extra person. So if you need that, or the extra somebody to say, hey, can you walk me through this a little bit? Or can you walk me? One of the things that schools don't utilize as much if you're on Instagram is Instagram stories. You can add, even though Instagram stories disappear after 24 hours, and this is a tidbit, after 24 hours, you can create one of those circles, and I'm sure you've seen them before by now, and add those circles. So if you've got tours, like if you're financial aid, you can even take pictures of PDFs. Like if you have PDFs, you can take pictures of it and just say financial aid PDFs. Mm-hmm. And then share it into your Instagram feed, the actual feed, the scrolling part, the feed of it, and say, hey, we have PDFs for you to view if you need to take a look at something, and then point them to the stories. I mean, it's something as simple as saying, hey, here's the stuff we have already. if you need to take a quick glance at it, because I can't tell you how many times I need a quick glance and I'm having to take a picture of my phone to do this to computer screen so I can take it with me for whatever reason. So, it's a lot of simple things you can do over time for any of the platforms you want to work on.
And and thank you for sharing that. And that's what I love too about what we're offering you guys is it's going to be customized. So we're not, she mentioned the Howard example. What's working in Howard may not work for Ohio State, and that's okay. And so it will be customized. And I love what we just touched on a few minutes before is that we're able to give you the diversity as well. So Angela will be glad to tell you if something is offensive, and how to make it not as offensive.
Right, right. So,
the diversity piece is important. So Angela, thanks again. You're the best ever.
Thank you.
The best to do it.
It was a little impromptu, but I thank you for having me on here. And if y'all need to find me, I'm at Angela Hemans, Angela at AngelaHemans.com. Website is AngelaHemans.com. I am the founder of Hemans Marketing Media LLC. And so feel free to reach out and say that you saw this video, say hello, let's connect over online. Let me know that you found it. And I'm happy to help where I can.
Absolutely. And and I promise, guys, I know we're going to add these last two things is I'm going to put all of her links below here. So you'll have my contact, you'll have Angela's contact, and she wrote an amazing book about Twitter marketing. So let me tell you, you need to be on Twitter. I'm telling you that hands down. And if you don't know how to manage it, she put it all in a book form. So I'm going to make that link available as well. So you can add that onto your package when you sign up for consulting with her team. So with that being said, Angela, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone. Wish you much luck. Hang on in there. We're all struggling together.